all season. We're here again with Talking Preps Overtime on Talking Preps, the Charlotte Observer. Last week, we had a phenomenal interview with Coach Stephen Wright at Cardinal Gibbons, and I think we're going to continue this awesome trend, bringing in the quarterback at Providence Day High School, junior quarterback Jadyn Davis. What do you think about that, Coach?
I mean, we're bringing the guest. I mean, we started week one with a state champion. Now we got one of the best quarterbacks in not only the state, not the area, but the nation. So we continue to raise that bar here on Talking Preps OT. I love it. I told you this is going to be one of the most exciting seasons in recent memory. This is one of the most exciting seasons already in Talking Preps history, man. I'm excited to get into it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, without further ado, let's bring on the junior quarterback at Providence Day High School, Jadyn Davis. Jadyn, welcome to the show. We're expecting big things from you. Obviously, your resume leading up to this point is phenomenal. Moving over to Providence Day High School from Catawba Ridge. Hey, welcome to the show, and let's learn a little bit about you and your season this year.
How y'all doing? I appreciate you guys having me on.
Definitely, Jay. So normally we have older guys, coaches on here. We're able to talk about, their history. So, we'll kind of shift a little bit of gears here. So, first I want to ask you, when was the moment that you fell in love with the game of football, and maybe a different moment, but that moment where you realized, I might be pretty good at this football thing.
Yeah, I'm originally from Georgia. So, just being from Georgia, football is a little bit different than I guess here in the Carolinas. It's kind of if you're the quarterback of the state championship team or you're the quarterback of your high school team, you're pretty much a celebrity in the state. So that's pretty much what kind of grew my love. I grew up watching my older brother and, guys that played in Georgia. I grew up watching Jemias Williams and Isaiah Grimm and Avery Shoel and guys that were just kind of legends in the Gwinnett County area where I'm from in Georgia. I think when I noticed that I could be pretty good is, in GFL in Georgia, we started throwing the ball kind of like 7U, 8U. So if you can throw the ball 7U, 8U about 30 yards, you're probably going to have a successful future in this sport called football. So that's probably when I kind of knew that, I'd be talented enough to play the game at a high level.
I can understand that, and I think also too, moving it a little bit further, I think the first time you kind of crossed my radar, was seeing that you were offered, of course, by Georgia and Alabama, as an eighth grader. I mean, I think that, especially around here, you talked about it, and I think that was a great comparison to Georgia youth football, maybe to around here. We haven't seen a lot of eighth graders get offers, especially from institutions such like Georgia and Alabama. How did that change your life? And I think how maybe were you viewed around? And I'm sure you got a little celebrity status as the eighth grader with Saban, and I guess at the time maybe that was Mark Rick, I think it was, with the offer there. So how did that change, kind of getting those offers?
It definitely changed. I was 13 at the time, so I kind of wasn't the normal 13-year-old, I guess, in a sense, going around and people kind of, I remember I was at Starbucks with my mom one day and my face was on the cover of a magazine, or not a magazine, newspaper. So that was pretty weird, but pretty dope too, just to know that my hard work is kind of paying off. But I knew that kind of put a bigger target on my back, and that's when the work actually started. And, you got to work harder, you got to earn what you get, you're going to get what you earn. So that's kind of been my life story, is just, continuing to grind hard and everything else to take care of itself.
Jay, did you realize the significance of that offer at that young of an age? Did you realize just how magnificent and just how big that was?
Yeah, I definitely did. But, I've been going to college camp since the 5th grade. So I kind of went into that camp with the same mentality, just going. My dad just drops me off and I just go do what I do. And I kind of just throwing, and Coach Smart saw the talent in me. Coach Saban saw the talent in me as well. So I kind of didn't. I guess I didn't know how big it was until it actually hit the media, and followers started happening, likes started happening, calls started coming in. So now I probably didn't realize how big it was at the time, but now I definitely know how big it is now, looking at that.
And just to kind of throw it out there, and I'm not trying to put a lot of pressure on you, but I remember another quarterback here in the Charlotte area that got offered in the 8th grade. His name was Chris Leak, and it worked out pretty well for him at the University of Florida, winning the national championship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I like Chris Leak a lot. So I'm hoping I can be that next quarterback in the state.
Definitely. So of course we got to talk about it. You were your last year, I guess the last couple years at Catawba Ridge down there. Had some pretty good seasons. But then of course we found out that you decided to make the move back, and I think that's always the key thing. I try to correct people to say that you're making the move to go back to Providence Day. Right. Could you talk about making that move to go back and what it means to be a part of that program going forward?
No, for sure. I kind of always knew in the back of my head that PD was home. I was at PD in 8th grade, and just kind of some family issues arise. It was just hard for my mom to get us to school on time, for her to get to work on time. And I live in Fort Mill still, so Catawba was the school I was zoned for, so that's the school I attended. But now that I can drive, it's an easy transportation system with me driving back and forth to school every day. And playing with PD guys that I grew up with, went to middle school together. So I still have those chemistry with those guys, and those guys are my brothers. So it's going to be really exciting, leading those guys to victory on Friday nights with Coach Greer.
All right, you talk about that with, having that big time talent on your team. First, I want you to talk about, having those receivers. I mean, the best friends outside of an offensive line to a quarterback are
Right.
great receivers. I mean, you talk Channing Goodwin, Jordan Shipp. We both know those names around here. They're household names. And honestly, some of the best receivers in the state. How is it stepping into a place where, getting at Catawba Ridge, you had a great program there, but you didn't have those two guys. So you stepping in with those two guys, what does that mean to you? And how good do you think you can be with that kind of talent on the outside?
No, that means the absolute world to me. I don't think I've ever been in an offense where I've had this much talent around me, or up front, or with a head coach that's not scared to throw the football. So, Jordan Shipp, a guy that has the craziest catch radius I've ever played with. I kind of sometimes want to throw a bad ball just to see what he's going to do with it. So I'll put it as high as I can, back shoulder as far as away as I can, because he's going to come down with it, and I know he will. Channing, we played in middle school together on the JV level. So we kind of grew up playing with each other. We've always had that bond together. Guys that y'all don't know, like Jadyn, a guy that, I see that's going to have a big season this upcoming year, his senior season. Liam Gruhl, a tight end that's very reliable and has hands out of this world. So, it's going to be a great opportunity to get these guys on the maps that are known but not as known as the other guys. And, it's going to be fun this year. So.
I got you. Another thing too, man, a lot of times people talk about quarterbacks and, you look at quarterbacks from the NFL down to high school and they try to act like, you guys don't have personality. So I want to talk a little bit more about some of the things I've seen. I've seen you on the 7-on-7 circuit. I've seen you different places. But first, let's talk about, they've got the Sweet 16 list. I think, a guy in the back, I think his name is Langston Wirtz. I think claims to know a little bit about high school football. I've heard that he's thinking about placing Providence Day #1 on the list. I mean, again, this is something that would be incredible. I think this would be amazing. Tell that old guy in the back why you young guys deserve to be, #1 on that list at PD.
I think on paper, this is the best team that one of the best teams that Charlotte's ever seen. But we know at PD that that stuff doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, you got to go out and compete on Friday night. So we'll actually know who the real #1 team is at the end of the season. Us at PD. We're focusing on our challenges, on paper and with the talent we have, we're going to be good. So we're actually fighting being good versus being great. And, that's what Coach Greer's been preaching to us all summer is, we're going to be good just with the talent we have around us. But, guys on the, we got to gel together because, a bunch of guys are just personalities and a bunch of single individuals aren't gonna win on Friday nights just because the team sport that football is. It truly is the best sport, in my opinion, just because it teaches guys from different backgrounds, different financial situations, different ethnicities that, you have to come together for one common goal, and that's to win on Friday night. So, that's one of the reasons why, we're going to be ranked #1 is because we will win every game and, we will accomplish our goal at the end of the season. So.
Jadyn, I hope that you realize that quote that you put out there is probably going to be chopped up and played, being one of the most talented teams ever in Charlotte on paper, at least, because, you think about those 01 to 04 Indy teams, those big-time three-peat Mallard Creek teams and Butler teams. I think that, that's a huge, huge statement. I think Langston in the background was like, whoa.
Oh, he's typing furiously back there. Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, talking about quarterbacks, I coached quarterbacks back in the day, a long time ago. That was a long day ago. You're playing for one of the best quarterback mentors, not only in this region and then locally, but in the country. Coach Chad Greer, great quarterback himself at Charlotte Latin back in the 1980s, played at East Carolina University. Of course, we know his son, Will Greer, and just an enormous amount of quarterbacks that he has mentored and coached along the day that has went on to have just uber success at the collegiate level. How is it playing for him? What have you learned from him? What does he maybe make you see about the game that you wouldn't otherwise see? Do you ever kind of have those eureka moments and be like, wow, I didn't even think about that, just for being with him either in the film room or in practice or maybe just in casual conversations?
For sure. I think if you want to play for Coach Greer and you don't love football, that's not a guy you're going to gel with. So you might want to check yourself and see if you love football. Because I remember me and Coach Greer met each other in probably December, January, when we first actually started interacting on a day-to-day basis. And we were in the film room for about 3 to 4 hours on end every day. So that's a guy that has had success and been to the places where I want to get to one day. Coach the best. He has all the experience of coaching those guys and knows what it takes to, lead those guys to be successful at the end of the day. So I think under his helm, and just learning from him, just the knowledge he gives me off the field, just how to handle myself in the community, how to just be the best man possible I can be. It's helped me already, and I can't imagine what it's going to do for me within the next 2 years with my junior and senior year coming up.
That's going to be exciting to see you grow again. I still can't believe you have 2 more seasons. Let's take it back a little bit. I love this summer. We talk about, again, some of the highlights of the things that you were able to do. I was aware, of course, being in the 7-on-7 world, of you getting the opportunity to go out to the overtime 7-on-7 tournament out there in Vegas. And for the old guys here in the room, you got the opportunity there to compete against some of the best programs. South Florida Express, Midwest Boom, I think, was out there, 24 Karat Gold, like a lot of major 7-on-7 programs and big time players. One of the cool things I saw is that you were out there with some of the big time commits. I think Nico, the Tennessee commit there. I mean, a lot of talent. How did you feel about being out there amongst those big time players, who some of them are older than you, about to go on the program? So how did you feel about that? How do you feel that you stocked up against them?
No, for sure. I think I wasn't out of place at all. I think I competed with the highest of them. Just me personally, I feel like I'm the best player regardless of anything. That's just my opinion. That's how confident I am in my abilities. But I'm friends with a lot of those guys, and we talk all the time. Nico is a great guy. He can spin it with the best. Yeah. But no, all those guys, Malachi Nelson, Nico, Pierce Clarkson, all those guys from the West Coast, we're great friends. It was a great chance because you're going to see those guys on Saturdays and hopefully Sundays one day. So it's very rare that you get an opportunity to go against DBs that are 6'3", 6'4" with that long of wingspan. Play with the best talent around you at the receiver position, and just how hyped the games were. Like, it was just a fun environment, all in one. So it was a great chance to stack yourself up against top level defenses and defenses you may not see in a regular high school game. So it was a great opportunity for from some of the Carolina boys to get out there, put the states on the map. So.
I agree. We were in Battle Miami, and our team ended up getting knocked out, of course, by Nico and Team Toe out there, which was unfortunate. Yeah. But again, it was awesome to see another 5-star quarterback, up there. So the one thing, again, these questions these old guys don't know. So it's just me and you talking. We talk about the drip. We all know Nico wears the pajama pants out there. We see kind of you get the style. We seen the Yankees hat. We seen the Wu-Tang shirt, and I feel like you like the rocker, the rocker shirts. Yeah. That some of those guys that the Guru Hughes was to listen to before your time. What's been your best drip? Like, what is the best outfit that you really put on? I thought Vegas, they highlighted you with the Wu-Tang shirt. Yeah. What's been your best outfit that you think that you really were like, wow, I'll put this on?
Nah, what's crazy is I had a different outfit planned for that Wu-Tang day. It was kind of real basic because we got the rules back with the attire, and I was hearing you had to wear the jersey. And then I was like, forget it. They tell me I got to wear the jersey, and I just got to wear it. So I think we were playing Cam the first game. Yeah. So I knew it was going to be a lot of media around. So I just threw on something. I saw the graphic tee. I saw the shorts with it and the Yankee with it. And I just got some new cleats, some Jordan 11 cleats. So I just threw it on just to put it together. So that was definitely top 2. And I think another one I wore in this tournament was like a Bape shirt. With some glasses and then some highlighter colored cleats with sweats, and they were kind of high watered, so you saw the white socks. So just the little details. Being from Atlanta, you got to have a little swag just to survive, honestly. But yeah, those are probably top 2.
Gotcha.
All right, guys. Again, this is week 2 of the high school season. Talking Preps Overtime, we got Jadyn Davis, junior quarterback from Providence Day High School. Jadyn, before I let you go, I want to talk a little bit of recruiting with you. Talk about the recruiting trail, how things have been for you, some of the visits you've been on. First and foremost, one, what does it take? Like what do you have to see in a program, in a college program, for you to put them your number 1 school? Like, what are those intangibles? Maybe the coach, maybe the program, the facilities, whatever it is. What is it that you're looking for to make a school your number 1 pick? And also, and I think this is something that's very important to this recent decade of college football recruiting. Talk about how NIL maybe factors into things for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. With college, it's not a 4-year decision; it's a 40-year decision. So I think, my mom goes on these trips with me. She's looking at the academic side of things, and a lot of schools have impressed her with that. Anytime, usually it's just me and my dad that go, but anytime like my whole family goes, I have a big family. That's when it's getting pretty serious with that particular school. So a lot of schools have made great impressions on my family. I've been on 2 big visits recently with Georgia and Michigan, those were probably some of the 2 best visits I've ever been on, just in my recruiting experience in general. and got to bring my mom to Michigan, and she enjoyed meeting Coach Harbaugh and having opportunity to look at the academic side of things, just talk to player development and all those things. But a school that runs a pro style system and has NFL experience, because I feel like with quarterbacks get dropped in the draft, it's really because the analysts say they can't handle NFL offense, or they've played in the college system the whole time. So with a guy like Coach Harbaugh, a guy he's been coach of the year in the NFL, he's going to lead you to success on Saturdays and knows what the scouts are looking for. The guy like Coach Smart, he just had 12 or how crazy number of first round draft picks or people in the draft in general. So those two particular universities, you're gonna play on the biggest stage, and you're gonna be seen by many eyes. Not just those two particular universities, but those are two that are fresh on my mind. But so many schools, it's just a blessing, because a lot of kids would kill to be in this position, toward these great universities, and it's just a blessing. You grow up seeing Nick Saban on TV, Kirby Smart. Now you actually have real, genuine relationships with them. So it's a pretty cool experience just to get me and my family around those people. With the NIL base, I'm not a guy that's going to go anywhere just because of the money. Obviously, with the state of recruitment, you got to you can't be naive to it. It's going to be out there. But I think, a lot of these kids, when they're going to start basing their decisions off of money, you're going to get to a school and you're not going to be a starter, and you're going to ask yourself, do I actually like this university? So, obviously my whole thing is you got to be good enough in order to get NIL first. So I think all that'll come when I achieve my success on the field.
That sounds good. I think that's a great answer, and I think you're going to be well served going forward with that mindset. But I want to talk about your visits. Remember, this is a family-friendly show, but let's talk about the best visits, best stories that you had, or even any surprises that you've had from your visits.
Yeah, like on my Michigan trip, I got a chance to meet Darnell Robinson, the quarterback that was at Michigan. Number one, just with him being an African American quarterback, I have a lot of respect for any African American quarterback there is in general, just because we all have to go through different trials and tribulations just with playing the position, just based off the color of our skin. So it was great just chopping it up with him. And then I was out in Austin actually training with a lot of NFL guys like Justin Fields and Deshaun Watson, Jordan Love, Malik Willis, C.J. Stroud. So it was a great opportunity just to pick those guys' brains, learn different, mechanics and different footwork they used at the next level, whether it be college or the NFL. Just seeing how those guys are off the field. They're just normal dudes. So just getting a chance to take down those guys' number. I can get to call them anytime I want to. They give me great advice. So it's just a blessing to know that my hard work on the field has given me the probabilities to be around the likes of a Deshaun Watson and a Jalen Ramsey or Derwin James and stuff like that. So that's probably one of the biggest stories or biggest cool things, I guess.
No, I can understand that, and especially with talking to them and having such great mentors that you can reach on your phone. Do they kind of talk to you about managing expectations? Because I only see it from we went to get you I think one time in 7-on-7. I think of course you guys beat us. What's up? But I can imagine, and I've seen that with expectations where people text me, man, what do you think about Jadyn Davis? I mean, is he he's all right? Was he good? I'm like, he's great quarterback, but I know at times, especially in that 7-on-7 culture, you miss one throw or somebody beats you. Oh, he's trash. Jadyn, you're trash, and I know that can be tough to deal with. So how do you manage those expectations? And what's some great advice that you've gotten to, about handling those?
Well, no, I've been going through it since I was in 8th grade. So it's kind of the norm for me now. But at the end of the day, nobody's expectations are going to be higher than mine for myself. My goal in life is to be better than Tom Brady, and I say that with all seriousness. So nobody's going to tell me that I don't hold my self-esteem or how I feel about myself up to anybody else besides myself. I'm the hardest critic there is in America on my own game. A person may tell me I was a great ball, and I can see any little detail to tell you that why it wasn't a great ball. So I think when you start lending your happiness and your self-esteem within other people, that's when you get your feelings hurt or anything like that. Like my dad's a Marine, so I've heard the craziest spoken to me. So I don't think really anything can really affect me like that. So I have a close knit bond with my family. Got close friends, keep a small circle. So that's kind of what I do to stay out of everything. I don't go outside the house. Like I'm watching YouTube in my room, or I'm watching tape. That's just kind of what I do. Like if I'm in the season, I don't really have a life outside of football and school. I'm doing schoolwork, obviously, with the rigors of Providence Day academics, and then watching tape afterwards and going to practice. So yeah, I don't really look at the outside noise, because at the end of the day, all it is noise. Those guys aren't the ones strapping it up on Friday nights and going to war. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like, if you haven't been in this position, if you haven't played the quarterback position, you kind of don't really know what it's like. So other than that, you're just opinions on a wall, honestly. So.
That's great. And I think that's something good for even others to listen to. And I'll kind of segue into this last question for me. What is some advice for a young quarterback kind of coming up in this game? It's such a microscopic, I feel like, situation, being a young quarterback, going through all these camps and things like that. And I'm not gonna lie, Jadyn, I use your name all the time. I'm like, we've got one of the best quarterbacks in this area right here who goes through this work, and try to use these young quarterbacks, kind of use your process and your path as something for them to model, just all of your hard work. I mean, I think you've done an amazing job, and I think you are someone to look at. But what would your advice be, to any young quarterback to come to you to ask how to be great?
Off the top of my head, I'd probably say just to be a kid. I think, a lot of the times, we get pressured from the outside world that we can't make mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes. So I think at the end of the day, like, people have to realize that, we're kids. I'm 16 years old. I can't imagine another person, they were 16, they didn't make one mistake. So, just remain a kid. Have fun, because at the end of the day, what got us into this game is because we loved the game, that it was a fun game to play. So that's kind of what I look at football, no more than anything else. Is just I'm having fun, playing with some of my best friends, and stuff like that. But just to remain a kid, be humble, and you're always gonna have to work for anything you get. Don't ever fly or shy away from competition, because that's the sport we live in. There's always going to be somebody better than you. And then another message is, it's a lot. I think I learned this from my experience recently. It's a lot easier to climb the mountain than it is to stay on top of the mountain. Just because, you may forget kind of what got you to the top of the mountain in the first place, or you may see, there's always somebody in the back working, kind of what I'm saying. So, just to maintain being humble and, to keep grinding at all times.
Man, outstanding answers, Jadyn. Grice, I think we hit the ball out of the park today with this interview. Jadyn, you've got wisdom well beyond your years of a teenager, and I've come away thoroughly impressed with some of the answers you've given. I know a lot of the answers, people say is like coach speak or something like that, but I can tell that you're probably living that every day. And, man, we thank you for joining us here on Talking Preps OT, because just kind of getting a glimpse into your life outside of the football field has been well worth this 30-minute program.
Yes, sir, Coach. I appreciate you for sure.
Well, Coach Grice, we did it again, week 2, Talking Preps Overtime in the books. Charlotte Observer, hey, come back and get us again next week. We're going to continue this trend of great interviews every week. For Coach Grice, myself, Langston Works in the background, everybody, for Talking Preps Overtime. We'll catch you next week.